What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fordham Firesides. I'm your host, Hank Michaels. Today I have a guest who is in charge of Fordham Experimental Theater. Is that correct?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Erin Kiernan.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I'm president of FET.
Yeah. So, FET, Fordham Experimental Theater, sorry. I feel like a lot of people have maybe like a misconception on what it actually is.
That's for sure. I think that's a lot to do with the fact that we have experimental in our name, which and a lot of people know that SNL sketch of people doing experimental theater, and it's just wild and weird.
Yeah, where they're wearing all black and they're like moving around like the drum beat and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. While I guess we do some things like that's definitely occurred, things like that on our stage, but I don't think a lot of people are aware that we do a lot of comedy, and we have like an improv group, a sketch comedy group, a stand-up comedy group, and a performance poetry group.
Okay.
So that we have 4 umbrella groups in addition to full-length plays and like Playwrights Festivals. So we really have a variety of programming. So we don't want to scare anybody off with that experimental title.
Yeah, it's kind of a vague word, like Fordham Alternative Theater or something.
We always try to like keep experimental part of the mission, especially in like our plays and that kind of thing. But sometimes it's like even the nature, I think, of improv is that experimental, but improv comedy is it's just comedy.
Definitely, that definitely like fits that. Do you know how long like that name has been in place? Like how far back does that go?
I don't know how long the name's been around, but the club has been around since I think 1959.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it goes way back, and we in the back of our performance space, people sign the walls when they're senior and like paint and that kind of thing. And I look back there, and sometimes I see ones from the 60s and that kind of thing, which is crazy because I don't know, it just seems like something that probably would have formed much later than that.
Yeah. So you guys do your performances in the Black Box Theater, which is in Collins Hall, correct?
Yes.
Has that always been the location?
I believe so. As long as I've been here, like I said, the club has been around for so long that it's definitely hard to track some of the history, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure there's not like documents in the library. Like
some people have been endeavoring to find some documentation of things, but I think we've been there for at least the majority of the time that we've been around in the Black Box Theater. It's definitely very old. We're trying to revamp it right now with like a new lighting system and that kind of thing. Yeah, so we do our performances there, Mimes and Mummers and Theatrical Outreach Program, the 2 other performance group or theater groups on campus, they're in Collins Auditorium on the other side of the building. Sure.
I've never actually been in there. I've been in Black Box a few times, but I've never even seen that auditorium.
Yeah, that also is definitely very old, and I think used to be very, very nice, but slowly deteriorating. So we're all trying to just kind of revamp Collins as a whole.
So the Black Box is called the Black Box. Is it because it's painted black, or is that like a specific term for like a type of theater? Because I feel like I might have heard that term before.
Yeah, that's definitely a term for a type of theater. I always thought that it was a term unique to us. Because before I came to Fordham, I really wasn't interested in theater at all, so I didn't know much about it. But yeah, there are Black Box theaters all over, I don't really know the specific definition of a Black Box theater, but they're all generally black
and they're
small. They're tinier.
Yeah, okay.
But that provides like I think a nice atmosphere, especially for what we're trying to do, which is just let people have fun on like a Friday, Saturday night. It doesn't seem so serious as like a bigger auditorium and that kind of thing. It's more intimate.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. So you mentioned there's like the 4 umbrella groups that are all part of the club. How is like the club structured in terms of like preparation, rehearsal, and then performances?
That definitely is different from group to group. So for our slot shows, which are just like full-length plays, that's really up to the discretion of the director, how they want to rehearse and that kind of thing. But of course, for the full-length plays, there's scripts involved and that kind of thing. For the umbrella groups, I'm personally captain of the improv group, so we meet twice a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, for 2 hours each, and people are normally like, why are you practicing for improv? But we kind of, we practice improv games, trying to be sharper, quicker, and smarter, and that kind of thing. And we'll practice forms that we're going to do in shows. So there are like different forms of improv you can do, different ways to structure your show with it still being improvisational. So if we know that we're going to do like a herald, which is a type of improv form, one weekend, then the weeks leading up to that, we'll practice a herald, even though we're not going to perform the same way we did in practice on stage, because it's still improv.
What's a herald?
Oh, it's a complex improv form where you just have like 3 pairs of characters go up and kind of do scenes in like an episodic fashion. And then there are like group scenes to incorporate the entire team. Sure. Yeah, it's definitely difficult to explain, but I think it was originated by Del Close, who was a big improv guy. I don't know if you've heard of the Del Close Marathon in New York, but
I haven't. Yeah. So these are all just like different frameworks that you kind of structure your shows essentially, but but then you fill it in with like different flavor each time to have a different experience.
Yeah, because each time we have an improv show, we get a new suggestion from the audience, and then we base our show off of that suggestion. So that's what makes it improvisational. Yeah. Because then all the dialogue, all the action is different than it was when we were rehearsing the basic form. Sometimes we have more free-flowing shows. We have a free-form show. We're doing a free-form show for our next show. And that's just, there's really no form to it. We just get a suggestion and then start going out there and acting. And cutting scenes as we feel like it and that kind of thing. So those are always fun because you don't have to worry so much about sticking to a form. I got you. Like, I guess from like what I think I saw one improv show when I was like in middle school, and it was like the high schoolers were putting it on, and then, like that kind of made me think that improv is like there's a chair or there's like a ball, and everyone just goes on stage and they start like kind of just riffing off of that. Like some kid picks it up and then another one like that's my ball, and then is that kind of how it works, but within different frameworks? Perhaps. Like we definitely don't really do any prop work. Like there are definitely some improv troupes that have different shticks. Like some will use props or something to inform what they're going to do for the show. But we always are just like, oh, we just need a 1-word suggestion from the audience, and then that's how we build our show.
Yeah, I like that too because it like brings the audience into like it's not like we secretly like prepare this, like it's we're just going off of what you give us.
But actually, some people will leave our shows and be like, "Did you write that?"
We said, no. I mean, that's kind of flattering.
I guess, I guess so. It is. But yeah, we were trying to involve the audience more. We just had a stand-up show last weekend. The vegetable show. It was BYOV, Bring Your Own Vegetable show, where we let the audience throw vegetables at the comedians. So that was fun because we didn't think anyone was gonna bring people were there with like bags of asparagus. Someone brought a cactus.
So they just stop at like the farmer's market on their way there. And do they throw stuff if they're like mad, or if it's just like, why not? Like it's just for fun. I guess
why not? Like, the traditional, if a comedian's bad, you throw vegetables at them, but people were just consistently throwing them the entire night. They were really getting a kick out of it, but then we had to clean everything up, and there was a lot of avocado and bananas and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess like fresh vegetables are not the worst food to clean up.
Yeah,
it's not like they're
that's
throwing
true.
like beef stew from the calf or something like that.
Yeah, there were random things like cereal and stuff, but it was all good.
Okay.
We cleaned it all up. Yeah.
All right.
We're just we want people to feel involved when they get to shows. I think that idea for that show was Kevin O'Malley's idea. and he's the captain of stand-up.
Yeah,
and he was just like, I really want to make this a more interactive experience. I don't want us to be just talking at the audience.
Yeah.
So we definitely want people to come and have like a fun, semi-interactive time.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Was the stand-up that night vegetable themed, or did they just kind of prepare their bits as usual?
It was not vegetable themed from what I could tell. I'm actually on the stand-up team as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we just kind of did normal sets. I talked about pickles, which was very appropriate because someone threw a pickle at me. But overall,
they're like, yes, I've been holding on to this all night.
Yeah. But overall, yeah, I think everyone was just doing their basic material. Yeah, not vegetable themed.
So, how does the poetry one work? Because that's the one I feel like is like, I guess I think of slam poetry from 22 Jump Street. I'm not sure if that's like in a like offensive representation of it or not, but
I have not seen that, or if I've seen that movie, it was a long time ago, so I'm not positive. But yeah, well, they're called Black Sheep performance poetry, so definitely different than just getting up there and reading a poem. Like, I feel like there's more feeling in it, but I wouldn't say it's, at least the team members right now are maybe not as dramatic as the like traditional representation of slam poetry.
Okay.
But yeah, they're very, very talented writers. Yeah. They all write their own stuff, and sometimes they'll like have a theme to their shows, so they'll all write poems about a certain theme, which is very cool. And yeah, definitely there's a range of how people present their poetry. Some are more subdued in the way that they present their poetry, which might be closer to just a straight reading. And some people do get up there with more gusto and that kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, it's basically just the sharing of poetry. Yeah, and all these different groups, they have like separate nights for their performances. Right. In the beginning of the semester, we have a big scheduling meeting with all the groups and the directors of the plays coming up and the e-board, and we try to divvy up the nights equally. It's difficult because we have so many groups, and so there's a lot of programming, and we want to give everyone like equal stage time.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to make it equal. So I would say each umbrella group has maybe 3 or 4 weekends in a semester that they get to do their shows. Sometimes we have joint shows. For instance, this week we have a sketch/improv show.
Okay.
So we're each doing like a shorter set rather than a full show, but we're combining it, which is always fun because then there's some variety for the audience, and then we're each able to have more performances if we split it up that way.
Yeah. It feels like those two probably go together pretty well.
Oh yeah, they go. That's a favorite combination of the audiences for sure. Yeah.
So I guess we haven't talked about sketch yet. That's Free Pizza Comedy, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And they perform their own sketches.
Right. I'm not on sketch, so I don't have the best understanding of how they prepare, but I'm pretty sure that when they meet, they usually meet weekly or twice a week, I think. And they'll get together, and sometimes they might do sketch writing exercises, but a lot of them, I think, will write sketches on their own, and then they come in and talk about them and that kind of thing. And then the week before their show, they all vote on what sketches they want in the upcoming show. And I think for most shows, they'll have like 9 or 10 sketches. And then the people who wrote the sketches that got voted in, they will get to cast their sketches with the people in the group.
Okay.
And then they spend that week just preparing those sketches, like collecting props and that kind of thing, buying props, and yeah, stuff like that.
Does everyone do both, or do some people just write and some people just act?
I believe that they all do both.
Yeah.
Some will write more than others. Some,
Sure.
I think they try to all act an equal amount. Like they're all supposed to be in a certain amount of sketches, I think, for each show.
Yeah.
Just to make it pretty equal. But for sure, some people I think end up producing more sketches than others.
Okay. Yeah. And then how do the slot shows work? That's those are student written plays, but I feel like I might have heard they don't necessarily have to be written by people who aren't member of FET. Is that true?
Actually, they could be either student written or previously written plays by someone else. Like the one we're currently working on is Den of Thieves. I'm actually not positive who the playwright was for that, but it wasn't a Fordham student.
Okay.
Like it's an actual play. I think it might have been on Broadway recently.
Oh, really?
I'm not positive, but meanwhile, our show for slot 1 in the beginning of the semester was written by a student, Simon Rodriguez.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a variety. I would say that when I was a freshman, it was pretty rare to see a student written slot show, but now it's getting more common. Last year we had a slot show written by Stephen Kipp, who has since graduated. But yeah, there's definitely a variety there. Also, we have a Playwrights Festival, so if people aren't interested in writing a full-length play, they can write a one-act play for our Playwrights Festival.
Oh, okay. Nice. So what are like your next like upcoming events then?
Well, it's crazy. We're nearing the end of the semester, but
yeah, we are. It's a sad thought.
Yeah. We have this week, improv and sketch.
Okay.
Show on Friday and Saturday, and all our shows are at 8 on Fridays and Saturdays. And then the week following, I'm not actually positive. We definitely have a poetry show coming up, and then our slot show will be coming up around Thanksgiving or so. I'm not sure if it's before or after. And then I believe we have there's this joint stand-up sketch show. So I'm not positive on the dates of those, but the most immediate one is the sketch improv this weekend.
All right. Yeah, everyone go check that out.
Come watch us.
Before we go, do you have a favorite performance, whether it was yours, whether it was a poetry or sketch show? Like, is there like a favorite moment that like for when you've been on FET?
I would say I enjoy all the performances that I go to see, whether or not or the performances that I'm in, but I really love the Playwrights Festival. I wrote 2 plays for different Playwrights Festivals. One I wrote with Andrew Wilson when we were sophomores, called The Twirly Wind, and it was just so fun. Like we wrote really goofy dialogue, and it was just, there was really no rhyme or reason to anything, but it was just really, really fun. And then I just wrote another one for our recent Playwrights Festival, which was called Rhubarb Delight, and that was so fun as well. I really love writing, so I've enjoyed those. Yeah.
Do you guys ever record any of the performances?
Yes. When I first got into FET, we weren't recording anything, and I was pretty bummed because I was like, I'm working hard for these performances, and then they kind of just disappear.
Yeah, you don't want to go away forever.
Yeah, which is cool in a way that they exist for like one night.
Yeah, it's cool.
But I still wanted proof of what I'd been doing, and I thought everyone else probably wants proof of what they've been doing, especially for slot shows and that kind of thing, if actors want to add things to their reel.
Yeah.
So we put in a budget request for a camera. I was originally I started filming things on my family's video camera, but it's such an old camera that I was like, we really need to get the club like a nice camera to film all these performances. And so we did. We got approved to buy a camera, and now we've been filming every performance since, and we put them all on YouTube, the FET Black Box YouTube.
Okay, yeah, I'll link that channel in my description so you guys can go check that out. Yeah, but Aaron, thank you so much for coming on. I liked hearing about FET because myself included, I feel like sometimes I didn't know like what all was going on there, but now you guys do too. So go check out their shows on Friday and throughout the rest of the semester, and then next semester, and then next year too.
Yeah.
But thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, Hank.
Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram. You know the drill, all that stuff. I've been over it before. But until next time, I'll see you.